Hello. All right. So I have one person here. So we are the others. So waiting for others to come here. Please tell them they should drop a message. Drop a message in the Discord channel. Drop a message on the WhatsApp group so they can join the session. All right, guys. I think yeah. Yes, yeah. So let's have you guys joining here. All right. So I think we have people on YouTube as well. So guys, let me know. So hi Abdusalam. So where is everybody? I know today's supposed to be Salah. I didn't get my Salam. Please do well to send it over. Um so guys, go ahead and remind others so that they can join this session. I can see a couple of you have already started joining in. So let's just hold on for the others. I think Mr. Mab will be joining in shortly. The other instructor couldn't make it, so Mr. Mab will be taking this class. I hope we're ready to learn because I know a lot of people have been asking for this class. So here we are finally. Apologies for the instructors not turning up. So I think we'll be joining shortly. Once Mr. Mab joins the call, we can take off. That will be either 6:05 or 6. Did I say 6? Apologies. Either 8:05 or 8:10 p.m. So all right. Um. Okay. So Mr. Mav just joined the call. Hello, Mav. Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. Hello, Mav. Can you hear me? Okay. I don't think. Okay. Oh, can hear me now. Hi, Mav.
Yeah.
Okay, your network break. I can't really hear you.
Oh, okay. Give me a minute.
All right. Okay. So
Is
while
it
we wait
better?
for. Okay, this is much better.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I want to know how, this is this currently being streamed to YouTube?
This is being streamed to YouTube. I just started streaming it some seconds ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So let's see. I want to know if if the folks they are able to actually drop a message in the chat, right? Let's be very sure. And for those that are on YouTube, we would also, need to have a way to, kind of like see the charts, right, from YouTube. I don't know if that is going to be, presented here, but yeah, guys, drop a message in the chat if you can hear me, so that we can keep track of, the questions. Okay.
Okay, I will
Yeah.
also keep an eye on YouTube just in case.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, we already have some participants on YouTube. Yeah. Correct.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you though, but that's fine.
All right.
Okay. Okay. I think someone dropped a message. I can hear. Okay. All right. So, hello everyone. So I also dropped a message to see if that would also get to YouTube. Amaka, can you confirm that? Just dropped a message right now.
No,
Hi
you didn't
Amaka, can
get
you
to me.
confirm?
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, so guys, let's kick off already. We are going to be taking a quick intro to React, right? for those of you that probably haven't, used React before, we're going to be looking at, what we can actually build, using React. And of course, we'll get to, understand, what React is all about, right? Well, I think this is something that, I have actually covered in some. I mean, we've covered some, courses around front-end libraries, right? We've discussed Vue in the past. Some of us have probably built one or two things with Vue. If you're not totally new to these our classes, then you should have at least had some experience with Vue. Should have created some simple applications with Vue because we took that for about a month and some weeks. Okay. Yeah. So if you have any questions, as I get to share my screen and start explaining, feel free to share those questions so that we can take them as fast as we can before we move on to like the next topic or something. All right. So in this particular class, we are not going to rush through the topics. We are going to start off learning how to actually create a React application, how to create components, right? And yeah, I also wanted to let you know once you can see my screen. I have to share my entire screen, so let's see if it's visible to you. Please let me know. I'll have to quit this. Okay. Let's see. This is visible to you. Hi, Amaka. Can you please confirm that?
Yes, I can
Abisola?
see your screen. Yes, I
Oh,
can see
okay.
your screen.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So, guys, let's just take a look at what we are going to be doing today, right? A quick intro. Okay. Quick introduction to React. We are going to learn to create a React app. So, learn how to create a React app, and learn understand components and templates, right, in React. And we're also going to learn to work with multiple components, adding multiple components to your React application, and of course including styles as well. These are some of the fundamental things, and also see now we can add events, right? Adding click events, for example. These are some of the basic things. Once we're able to understand this, in the next class, we'll then dive into, working with states, working with hooks, and, a couple of other features, right, that we can actually use in the React library. Okay, so on my PC here, you see I am currently on the React web page, which is simply react.dev. While I'm explaining, I'll be dropping the links in the chat. So yeah, I mean, if these links don't get to YouTube or Maka, maybe you can also help me push them to YouTube. Okay. Yeah, so I have the React
All right.
page right there. Okay, I have the React page right here, and the React is basically a library for web and native interfaces. It's a library for building user interfaces, basically, right? So of course we can always check out the API reference. We can always click on the Learn React option as well. This will basically give you some examples and also teach you how to how to basically work with React, right? It makes you understand some of these things. We'll come back to this. I'm going to quickly, show you how you can learn with this, you know, with this, uh, uh, with this documentation page, right? I mean, I would recommend this. I would always recommend this. If you're just starting out, definitely recommend this. But while we build our React applications, we are going to leverage this, utility called Create React App. Okay. Let's go back to the main page. So let's see what we have. Basically, this is an example of what a React, component would look like, right? So we are going to be working on something like this today, right? And so unlike Vue that actually, comes with a lot of internal toolings and a lot of, I would say, prepackaged libraries like, your view router and the rest of them, your state manager. When it comes to React, you have to actually include some of these things yourself, right? So all we're going to get is, the base React library itself, being able to actually work with templates, render those templates. When it comes to doing things like routing, state management, we have to install, packages that would handle that for us, but we'll get to that, probably in the next class. If you take a look at this, you see that, we are, in this example, you see the way they are able to, wrap multiple, they're able to wrap multiple, components together, right? And these components are able to, make up the interface you're seeing here. Okay, so we have the video list, components that you're seeing right here. This is the video list component, and we also have the, search input component, which is exactly what you see right here. Okay, and that is exactly what makes up this. That's exactly what makes up this particular page, right? So we'll get to that shortly. We'll get to that shortly. So yeah, check out this web page. This would make it easier for you to understand how React actually works, and of course, follow through on the documentation as well. The quick start documentation, react.dev/learn. So let me drop that in the chat as well. What I would recommend, when I share some of these links, you can simply create a folder, right, on your bookmark. You can create a folder. Okay, so you can set up a folder on your bookmark list here, and you can save some of these items within that folder so that when you forget about these links, you can simply access them, right, from that folder. Okay, so just right click somewhere here. If you can't see this bookmark bar, you probably want to click on this and, probably, let's see, you have to show bookmark bar, I think show all bookmarks, right? So you can show all bookmarks from here, and then you can go ahead to, add this item to a specific folder that you've created. Okay, so I don't want to save this for now, so let me just take that off. When you visit this page, I think we can close the react.dev page for now. So this is react.dev/learn. When you visit this page, you will actually, yeah, so you will actually get to see some explanations about, these components I've been, talking about, right? Including what we also call component nexting, ability to actually next one component inside another component. If you are not joining our classes for the first time, you should have done something like this before with Vue, right? So there are so many similarities. I mean, you'll get to see that most of these things are actually very similar, right? Let's just go ahead to create a new React application right now, and we'll just so we'll just try out some of these things while I explain. Okay, so I'm going to go back one step. I have a file I have created there called getting started .md, right? So I'm going to open that file. Let's just say, give me a second. Okay, so code. All right, so let's open VS Code. All right, so I have getting started .md right here. Let's see. I want this to actually render as a markdown file. So let's click on this. Right. Okay. So, of course, before you use React, you should have a Node and the npm installed. Now, as usual, we're going to push this to GitHub, so you will be able to clone it and also have access to this, getting started material. Right. It's quite short, right? Short and straightforward. So the first thing you want to do is to have Node and npm installed. So if you don't have Node installed, say this is the first class you're joining to actually learn React. So go ahead and navigate to. Let's just go to Node.js. Let's just search for Node.js. So you can go to nodejs.org. That is the URL to the website. So let me copy this and also share with you in the chat. Okay. Just pasted that. Yeah, nodejs.org. So visit nodejs.org. You can simply click on download node.js LTS, which means long-term support, right? So you can click on this, and you see it's already telling me, oh, you want to save this. What location do you want to save this to? So of course, I'm getting a pkg file, a package file. If you are on a Windows, you get the option for Windows. If you are on a Linux machine, you get the option for Linux as well, right? So so you need to have Node installed, and of course, after installing Node, you can go ahead to test by simply saying Node C version. So yeah, so when you run Node version, It gives you the version of Node you have installed. Let's also zoom in on this. All right. So it gives us the version of Node we have installed. So this is the command you have to execute, and you will see the version you have installed on your computer. Okay. All right. So in my case, I already have Node installed. So let's go back. Yeah, so you can also check to make sure you have npm. So once I run npm, I will see, if I actually have npm installed. I do have it installed here, so which is the reason why I am giving the following set of options, right? So I can select the command I really want to execute. Okay, so I have npm installed, and the next thing I would want to run is npx create react app, and right here I have the name of my React project. So what I will do is I'll copy this, and we're going to create a new folder here. So let's just go ahead and call this folder, let's say, okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, so let's paste this in, and now we can call this my simple blog, or let's just say simple React blog. Okay, if that makes sense. Simple React blog. Okay, so you have to give this some time. So let's see. Oh, yeah, totally forgot. And I keep forgetting that, so I prefer to use the simple React blog. Okay, so this is how you actually want to name your project, right? Not with the capital letters. That will there are some restrictions when it comes to creating your project with capital letters. So you have to go with small letters, and it makes sense if you just use the option with hyphens, right? So yeah, we're currently creating a new React project. Okay, so take note of that command, right? npx create React app. Of course, when you are done learning the basic, React development, you probably want to move on to something like Next, JS, right? Yeah, and we have different commands for basically scaffolding or setting up a new project, right? So for now, we're using create React app, so we can get that fundamental, basic setup, and we would also have a bundler, right, called Webpack. So Webpack will be doing the bundling for us, behind the scenes. So we don't need to really dive into that. It's basically going to come, pre-installed by default, right? When this is done installing, right? So let's just give it some time. Um, you should also have pretty good network, right? So let's give this some time while it's installing. Let's check out what we have here. Okay, so when this finish installing, of course you have to just navigate into the folder, right? In our case, it's the simple React blog, right? You have to navigate into that folder and use the npm start command to actually run your application, right? The application will be launched on localhost for 3000, which of course you can also configure, but that is the default for our projects. So this is taking some time, and it makes sense that you actually, create some of these things on time, right? I mean, I did create a sample that I would love to use to explain to you guys, but at the same time, I actually wanted to do everything from scratch again on this call, right? So you guys can follow me, step by step. So let's just give it about 1 minute, and I believe that should work. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, I believe we can just, go back to the website. Okay, so that's a quick start. Okay, so let's see, what do I have here? I don't want us to dive so deep into some of this documentation. I want us to take it one step at a time. This is what we are currently, using, right? Create a React app. Okay, this is exactly what we are currently using. If you click on Get Started on this website, it also shows you the same command, right? So exactly the same command we had used earlier. I think you guys would prefer that thing. Okay, so exactly the same, website, exactly the same command we had used earlier. npx create React app with the name of your application, right? Let's see. Okay, so that's almost done. All right, so if we have our project completely set up, of course, I mentioned that it will be launched on localhost for 3000. Let's try to look at a couple of things that we would have, especially when it comes to the folder structure. So this is what the ideal folder structure would look like, right? So we'd have, your README file, the node modules, right? Node modules is the directory that contains all the installed packages. Okay, the installed packages will be found in the, node modules, which means if you delete node modules, your installed packages, including React itself, is no longer available. You have to install again with npm install, npm I, right? So you have to install again if you delete node modules. Um, yeah, so we have the package.json that has a way to, list, what yeah, so it's going to list like the packages you have installed, as well as, the configuration for your application, which is the package itself, which is a package, in itself. So now that this is completely set up, it's giving us some of the commands that we can use, right? So we need to first go into simple React blog. Okay, and of course we already have. Now let's take a look at what the structure actually looks like, right? So you see we have the readme.md, we have node modules, we have package.log.json, we have package.json, we have public, and we have the source, right? That's src. Okay, so in the public directory, you have this index.html file, which is the main, file that will be rendered actually, right? I will show you what it looks like. I think that would let's look at what the file actually looks like. I think we can close this for now. We have started our application. Oh, we are yet to start our application, but we're going to run this command to actually start the application shortly. So this will be shared with you. We can close this for now. Let's take a look at what this structure looks like. I'm going to zoom in. So if you can't see my screen very well, please do well to let me know. Drop a message in the chat. I'm sure I would get that notification on my end. All right, so this is what the folder structure looks like, right? So we have the node modules, readme.md, just like we have seen here. And of course, git ignore is basically the ignore file, so that when you're trying to push this to GitHub, it doesn't, push some of the things that are extremely heavy, like node modules. So by default, we should have node modules in here, and a couple of other, files that are used for, coverage, build, and testing, right? So you don't need to actually, push some of those things, just in case you have them in your project. Okay. In the public, we have our five icon, we have the index.html and I mentioned, just like I have also explained in Vue, right? You have this item with ID of root. So everything you have in your React application will be mounted on root. Okay, so it will be mounted in here. During runtime while it's running, right? To be mounted here. We have the default logo. This actually, came with the setup, with the scaffold, right? With the project scaffold. So, of course, you can delete all these items, the logo items, you don't need them, right? You would also see a folder called source. So this actually contains the main, working files, right? Like we have the app.css, which is the default CSS file that was generated, while this project was being created. We have the app.js, right? The app.js is also the base component, right? So what you do is we can take off some of these things. The idea is we are going to create more components and organize those components in here, right? So that when it renders on our browser, would have a way to basically see some of the components that we're working on. Of course, you can choose to put them here. You can choose to put them straight within the index.js as well, right? But I would recommend you actually work with app.js. In the index.js, what it's actually doing is that it is setting up, React alongside, initializing that or rendering that app.js file, right? So when you have your components added to app.js file, if it renders the app.js file, your components would render alongside, the app.js file. Okay, so you can choose to actually import new components here, and of course include those components here as well, navigation, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, I would even show you. I would recommend you actually do that in here, right? Instead of doing that here. Okay. So this is the default logo. By the time I run this, you would see some of these details, right? So let's just go back to app.js. What you're seeing here is the default logo that is being imported, right? This is the React logo that came, as part of the project setup, right? That is what you see right here, logo.svg. So we have the function, we have the app.css, which is actually used for styling. That is what we have here as well. We have the function app. So basically, this is your React component, right? So your React components, you have to actually return this as a function. Of course, you can also do, class components, but for now, right, for the purpose of this class, we would actually stick to function components. As you can see, it's also the default, right? In my opinion, it's easier to work with, it's better to work with, but in the future, we'll get to talk about class components as well, right? Yeah, so I have the function app, right? This is my component, and right here, I export that component so that I will be able to import it elsewhere, and of course, make it render on the DOM, right? So after putting that function, I also have the return statement here. So basically, we're going to return everything we have here. It looks like HTML, right? But this will be returned as JavaScript, of course. So we're writing HTML within JavaScript. It's not so complex. Just follow up and follow. If you have questions, drop those questions, and I'll try as much as possible, to make it easier for you to understand. Okay. Yeah. So we have a couple of other files as well, index.css. We have setup test. Some of this, we're not using some of this for now. So, but yeah, let's just keep it, right? App.test.js is for your, tests, right? We're not using that as well, but we'll keep it for now. So what I'm going to do is to run this. So let's go back to the terminal and we'll say npm start. Okay, so this is going to run our React application, and this application will be launched on port 3000. So let's go ahead and say localhost 3000. Okay. Okay, so now you see we have this running on port 3000, and it's also running on a network because I'm actually connected to a network. Now, sometimes, on your own end, you might not get to see this, right? So just focus on, the first one here, which is localhost 3000. So you see, I have that React logo and a couple of other text with the Learn React, anchor link. So if I go back to the code, you're going to see exactly the same thing, right? Learn React, okay? The paragraph, okay, which is what you're seeing here, as well as the logo, right? The logo was actually imported, and by when you simply put the name, right, of the import for that particular file, it renders here. Okay, so that logo is spelled wrongly. Of course, it's going to tell you you have an error. We can't resolve this particular file, but if it's correct, then of course, this is happening in real time. So it's called hot reload. Okay, so this is happening the moment you edit and you save, it reloads automatically. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take off some of these things. So we can just include maybe.
Hello, can anyone still hear me? Hello, guys. Okay, so if you can hear me, please go ahead and drop a message. Let me be sure that you can hear me. I think Mr. Mav is having some network issues. So let's just hold on. He'll be back shortly.
Apologies, guys. I'm having a little bit of network issues here, but I just switched my provider, so I don't know if you can hear me. Amaka, please let me know if you can hear me. I can't seem to. Okay, guys, if you can hear me, please drop a message in the chat, so I'll be sure that you can hear
Hi,
me. I'm
Marv.
even looking at the chat right now, but I can't see.
Hi,
Uh,
Marv. Can you hear me now?
oh, okay. I think it's actually breaking. I don't know. Maybe it's from.
Hi, Marv. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you well, Amaka, but I can see you're speaking. Oh, I can hear you. I can hear you. Amaka, I can hear you. I feel it's my network. Just give me a second, okay? Give me a second, so I'll pick it up again, please. Give me a second. A second. All right. Okay, so I just swapped my internet again. Amaka, can you hear me now? Hello, Amaka, can you hear me? All right. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but let me start sharing my screen first. Let's see. Okay. Guys, if you can see my screen, let me know in the chat. If you can see my screen, let me know in the chat. Hello guys, if you can see my screen, I can't see anybody dropping a message, so I'm not certain if you can see my screen. So let me know in the chat if you can actually see my screen. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong. Oh, okay. I think
I can
I
see
was
your
looking at
screen,
a
Marv.
different section. Thank you. I was looking at a different section from my end. Okay. All right, so this is what we are looking at, the React application that we just loaded. And so I went ahead to actually delete some of these items. So by the time I save, you no longer get to see those things here. If I bring them back, right, and I save, you see we have those items loaded once more. Let's go ahead and delete this time around. I'll just put on H1. I will say, welcome to our first React application. Let's just say app. All right, so if I save now, you see we have welcome to our first React app. Okay, so that's exactly what we have here. And we can go ahead to add like a P, an image, right? So yeah, SRC equals. So I'm just going to add a very simple image here. So let's just say class name equals, I don't know, logo or image, right? So of course, this can also be, the same logo, right? So we'll have that logo appear here. That is pretty big, obviously, right? So what we can do, we have a style. Remember, we have a style. Let's start by putting this on top. Oh yeah, I think it's fine here. So if I scroll down, you see that, but the image is obviously too big. So I need to change this image. I'll probably put like a profile image. Yeah, let's follow the standard casing here, profile image. So I'm also going to get a profile image.png, and I'm going to simply bring an image from here. So if you notice, in order to have an image like a dynamic image rendered here, you have to put this mustache sign, basically curly braces, but just one, right? Unlike view where you have to put two. Okay, so we're going to bring in profile image, and I would like to have this inside maybe a folder called images, which I don't really have right now. So I can even create a folder called assets slash images. So right here, I can simply create a new folder. Let's call it assets. Okay, so in here, let's have images, which is another folder, right? So images. Okay, of course, I can have another folder called CSS. The regular way we actually structure some of these, some of our folders when we are, working. let me go into pictures. I'm going to dive into the place I have. I think I should have like a sample. Do I have like a sample logo I can use here? Not very certain, but
Hello,
I can
Mike.
actually get a logo. Yes, can
Hello,
you hear
Mike.
me?
Can
I'm
you hear me?
speaking.
Okay.
Um, I'm, I'm,
Screen is
I can hear
static.
you.
Your screen is static. So what we can see here is your code. I think this is the VS code. So please
Okay, hold on, hold on,
help
hold
out.
on, hold on,
Okay.
hold on. Thank you.
All right.
All right, I'm sharing again. If you can't see my screen, I mean from the audience, please do well to drop a message, right? So that yeah. Okay, so I'm sharing again now, and we are seeing this error on my screen basically because we don't have this image yet, right? So, I am trying to download a sample image that we can use. Okay, so I'm going to download the sample image from here. Let's probably just download. Let's search for burger. Okay, I don't know why I'm getting this. That's weird. Unusual traffic. Okay, I think I know why. Anyways, let's just go to DuckDuckGo.com. Right, I'm going to search for burger. Let's go to the image section. You can just say burger. What is that? Oh my gosh. I think I didn't spell that right. Yeah, I didn't spell it well. I think I missed the arrow from there. Okay. All right, so let's just download one of these icons, right? I think I like this one. Because it's looking pretty big, but yeah, we can basically adjust that. So let's save the image and let's include, I'll just call this logo of profile image, right? So we can actually download this. So let's take it down to downloads. All right, so what I'm going to do now is copy this image. And of course, we have to take it to that folder, right? The folder that we have created. Of course, you can just paste this in, right here. We have profile image straight into VS Code. All right, so if I have that image, which I believe this should be, yeah. So this is going to take us. This is going to take us straight to. Let's see what we have. Let's go back. Okay, now this is still very big, but that's fine. Remember, we have a class name of logo, so we can simply go to app.css, right, and we can just call logo, right? So I can simply see that we have that logo adjusted now. Let's just keep it little. I'm using 150px for the height. Okay. So I think that's fine. So we currently have this, right? And I can also create like some space, margin top 3em on top. All right. So if I save it now, you see we have, this is exactly what we have. So I can simply change this title as well. So welcome to um, Burger King. Okay, save. Now you have welcome to Burger King. Now I'm just trying to show you an example of how you can actually edit. You can start working with React already. We are using some dynamic values here. We can also include some dynamic values, just between, this return and, the function naming here. We can actually have like const, let's say company name equals Burger King, right? And of course, we can then use the company name. So we can say welcome to, and then we have this, right? So we can actually just drop the company name there and we still have Burger King. So if I change this to Top Universe, for example, save, this will be renamed to Top Universe. Okay, so this is how you start, working with some dynamic values. We're going to include, more components, right? At least we've looked at how to, create a React app. Let's try to explore more when it comes to the components. So we just have one component right now. I want us to create like an header component, right? So we'll have some sort of navigation, right? So we should have like a nav, okay? So we should have some sort of nav like this, right? We can call it nav component. Okay, something like this. I think that would work. But we don't have that created just yet. So what I'm going to do, I love to create folders so I can structure things very well. So I can actually have components, and within components.
Hello, Mark. Can you hear me? Hello.
Lost connection again. I mean, this is not good. Apologies. This is not good. I'm just trying to reconnect here.
Hello, guys. I think Mr. Marv is having a bit of a network issue. We'll
Hello,
resolve
can
it.
you hear me?
Okay,
Please,
I
can you
can
hear
hear you
me?
now, Marv. Yes, I can hear you.
I'm going to share my screen again. Apologies, my network is acting up. Really sorry about that. All right, so network is still. All right, so I'm going to share again. I don't know, like I'm literally swapping, from one network to the other, right? And this is not very good. Okay, so the moment you can hear me and probably see my screen, please let me know. Amaka, Ella, please confirm if you can see my screen.
You can.
Okay, so please, for those in the chat, please confirm if you can see my screen. I don't think I can
Yes, we
hear
can. Can you hear
Amaka.
me?
Oh yeah, Ella, I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, nice. Thank you. All right, so let me proceed. Okay, so guys, apologies for that. I'm going to just, let's continue from where we left off. So what we've been able to do is to, bring in a new image, right? As well as, change the text. And of course, I also explained how you can even work with, some, content, right? If you are changing like, values, right? Working with some dynamic values from here. What we are going to do next is we are simply going to bring in some components, but of course we have to create those components first. So within the component folder that I have created, I'm going to, set up two components. The first will be the navbar. Let's just call this the navbar.js, right? And we'll also have the footer.js. Okay. All right, so now I have the navbar and the footer of the JS. One thing I can also, this is a quick hint. So you can actually come to your extension bar and you can download, we have React Simple Snippets. So this is the library I would recommend you download, right? You see, we already have more than 3.8 million users. So go ahead and install this to make it easier for you to set up, components. And of course, you find the easy shortcuts, right? If I say SFC, for example, this is actually trying to give us a stateless function component, right? This gives us that component. And of course, you can add like the component name. Okay, so I can simply call this like a navbar. Okay, so this is a navbar, and of course, this is where I get to, return. This is where I get to return the HTML, right, that goes into this particular file. I can, of course, import, the CSS file. I mean, just the same way we did import the CSS file here, I can also go ahead to import the CSS file. So I can say we have a file in the assets, slash CSS, and we can say it's called navbar.css. I don't have that file for now, but I can simply go ahead and set it up. So I can just create a new file, call it navbar.css, and this is where I am going to, style my navbar. Okay, so I can say we have a height of say 100 px for the nav. I don't really have anything in mind to put in the navbar just yet, but let's see what we can do. So if I have a navbar and maybe I have a navbar div, right? And within this div, I can start by, yeah, I can just say maybe 100%, probably give me background color. Maybe that should be for the base. So give me a background color right here. Let's do white. So of course I can adjust this a bit because I want it to be an obvious number. And I can say I have a width of 80%, margin 0 or 2. So what this is going to do is create a section that we can actually put in some items, maybe like some menu items, right? And I can simply say display flex, right? Give me a gap of probably 40 px. I want to put some items that will be displayed, within that flex. Let's just say flex wrap, just in case we're looking at this on mobile, which we're not really focusing on CSS for now, but just to have that navigation, right? So right here, we've imported that CSS file, and we're rest assured that, we're going to test this, of course. Let's see what we have. So I'm going to also have navbar because that is what we are trying to export here. So first, let's just go ahead and put a simple, we call this the class name of navbar, right? Of course, we have to close this. Okay, so when I close this, let's go into our app.js. So this is where I have to import, right? So let's import our components here. So I'm going to say import navbar, from components slash navbar, right? And I can get to use navbar just like this. Okay, so now this is going to, allow us to use navbar, but it has to be, it has to be within a root. You have to have a root container. So this div is, regarded as a root container. If you don't want the div to be the root container, you can simply do something like this and, have that be the root container if that is what you want, right? But I mean, I'm fine having the div as my root container. So all I probably just have to do is come in here and include the nav bar. All right, so let's close that. Let's save. So if I save this now, you see I have that nav bar. I don't have any item within the nav bar just yet, but then there's a space at the top that was I would say that was intentional. I remember including that, so we can actually take it off. If you go to the app with CSS, I included this margin, remember, so I can take that off from here, and that space is gone. Okay, So now we have a new component. This is the component. I can include some items. Let's use an anchor tag, href. Let's have the first one. Let's call that. Let's make it dynamic. Okay, let's make it dynamic. I'm just going to say this is kind of like the top universe link. I can have the target, blank. Remember the way you do this already. So right here, I can have const top universe link equals cost inside a string https top universe org, right? You can have maybe a different link. Let's say both link example.com. Okay. And of course, in here, I can have top universe. So I can put the top universe link, just like, yeah, just paste that there. So if I save, that is pretty good. Yeah, that's going to appear right here. So I can come in here and select the both click link. First, change this to both click. Okay, so now you see I have top universe, I have both click. We did some styling, that will, make this work well. But from what I can see, I think I pretty much need to include the div first. I probably forgot to do that. Let's save this time around, and now you see we have that in here. In the nav.css, I think what I also need to do is to ensure that I, say align item. Yeah, is that correct? Center so that this can sit properly in the center. So yes, I have my navigation. I mean, most times you probably want to say, oh, I don't need this. I don't need uh, I don't need. So I mean, I don't need what's it called? I think it's called all. I don't know. Is that correct? On sets, yeah. So that takes off this crazy styling you have here, and of course, you can set your own styling, right? So when I hover on this cursor, give me pointer, and of course, you can add, more styling to this. But let's just keep it at this for now. So I have the menu items, right? I have the logo. Logo can also sit in here if that is what you want to do, right? But let's just continue for now. This is fine. So what I can do is right here within app.css, I can simply say, give me a margin top of 1 EM, right? So we can have that space come back in here. Let's do 3 EM. Okay, so we have enough space. And now I mean, we're literally working with multiple components, right? So just in case you are lost, I'm going to go back again. We have the app.js, which was the first file we actually met in here that was created, the first file with actual, component code. And we're able to create the navbar component. We created that component within the component folder that we also created, right? This was not here, assets was not here. We created some of these things just to structure our code base, in a way that makes sense. Okay, so we created components, we created these two files, okay, and we also, created a CSS file for navigation. We're also going to create a CSS file for footer. Let's call it footer.css. So this is what we're going to have to style footer, right? You already know how some of these things work. I'm just going to say background of black, right? And I would simply say every text that should appear in here, every P item, let's just keep this simple, give us white, okay? We are also going to have a footer with a div, so that div will determine, where the items would fit in, more like the container. So within that div, we can simply say give us a width of 80% as well, margin 0 or so. And yeah, we can of course put a padding at this point to say give us 40 px. So which means even if we don't have any item, we want to basically make sure we have that 40 px as a padding. I did not set you're still with us.
Well, I can hear you.
Okay, Amaka, can you see my screen?
I cannot see your screen.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know if it's from your end, but the other time you said you could not see my screen. I think someone said it was still visible. It wasn't static. So please confirm again if you can see my screen, Amaka.
I can see your screen now.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, sorry guys. The network is pretty terrible. I mean, this is me literally swapping from one provider to the other. Even down to the home network is still, still messed up. Anyways, so I have the footer component, which is what I just created right here. Okay. And we also need to make sure that the footer component is able to get the styling, right? So we have to import that style. Okay. So let's go ahead and import that style. So I'll just say assets, CSS, and of course, footer.css. Okay. So if you have an error, then of course that would throw that throw some error here. But for now, we don't have an error, and this is the footer, not the footer. Okay. So yeah, so we can pretty much go back to the app.js, and we can simply bring in. So let's just add some text here. Let's see if I can add some lorem ipsum. I don't know. I don't think that is working. Okay. So welcome to. I would say this is simple. Yeah, simple web page. Okay, thanks for joining in. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in the footer just at this point. So I would say give us footer, but of course we also have to import the footer just like we have imported the navigation. So let's bring in the footer from here. Let's copy this and let's paste footer right here. Okay, so now we have our footer. So if you can take a look at this, if you see this, you can pretty much see that we have the footer showing up here. And of course, one thing we could do is fix the p tag, right? So let's fix the p tag footer. Let's fix the p tag. What do we do here? Mark it as important. That did not fix it still. So we have that item here. Oh, I think I see why. Maybe we can just do am I making a mistake? So we have footer and we want, okay, background, color, white. Let's figure out, oh yeah, I think that is already showing there. Okay, so I don't think we needed the importance. All right, so we have the footer item. And of course, you know how this can actually work. Um, I can simply say position. I think it can be relative. Can it be fixed? I mean, fixed is not very good, but yeah, you can just go to the bottom 0, right? So fixed is not very good, obviously, right? That is not how you want to do this, but just for the sake of this example, so I have that footer fixed. Ideally, you should be able to set this without using fixed, because when you use fixed, it means even if I scroll, it's just going to sit right there. Nothing is going to happen, right? So you probably don't want that. Okay, so I'm dropping this to like 10 so that we can just have the footer show up very tiny there. So yeah, so we have the footer showing there. We have our simple HTML page. What we've been able to do is to work with different components. We created the nav bar, the footer. We did some styling, right? And we were able to also bring those components into the base app.js file. So now we have two components, with their respective CSS styles. We're able to import an image, right? And come on, okay. And yeah, so we basically have our React application. Okay. Now let's go back to the structure we have here. So now we've been able to use some dynamic values, right? Components. We have also seen how to work with multiple components. We have seen how to add some style. Let us quickly, put in one event. I know, the session was a bit, off and on due to my poor network, but I think if you have any questions, you can also drop those questions in the WhatsApp group on Discord server, and I'll do well to respond. Okay. Yeah, so in order to create, like a click action, what I can do to keep this simple is I am going to create a button. So let's create a button here, right? We don't really have, I'm going to just put a class name. Let's call this primary, right? So we're going to style this button and we say click here for magic, okay? So when you click on the button, it's just going to, show a simple trigger. So for now, there's no style on the button. So we call this primary button. You can say BTN primary. So let's start by, styling the button. So I can simply come to Assets, CSS. Let's create a new one here. Let's call this font CSS. Okay. So I can style the button, BTN. Of course, I can also say we have primary, which would basically state the color, right? So by default, I can say border none, okay? And I can say padding, maybe I have 4 px, 8 px, okay? And in here, I can simply say background color. Let's just put blue. Select a specific blue, right? Blue that's probably nice, and put some border radius. So let's do 4 px. Okay, so at least now I can choose 8 and 16. So now we have a simple button style. I can come back in here and of course import that, so let's do source. I think that is probably, oh, right. Okay, I see. So I can actually do source, I can do assets, CSS, and form, CSS. All right. So let's see what we have. You can see that button has a different color, but of course, we also have to make sure that we set, colors. So I'm going to say color white. Okay, let's save that. And now we have click here for magic. Well, we can also say font size, give us 16 px. Let's have something a bit bigger. All right. So, and of course, set a cursor of pointer. Okay, so when I click on this, we want something to happen. For now, nothing happens, right? When I click on this, we want something to happen. Um, yeah, apologies, I just love to make sure things are looking all right. So I just want to make sure that the color that is selected actually, works for the example I'm giving, due to the color that we already have for the logo. So yeah, so I think that is pretty bad. That's it down a bit. Okay, save. So I think that works. All right, so click here for magic. You can add all your, CSS styling, hover animations, crazy stuff. I mean, whatever you want to include here that is, possible with CSS, you can actually do that. Okay, so now this is what we have. When I click on that button, I want to be able to perform an action, right? Same way we're including those styles, we can also choose to include the style directly in here. What you have to do is to create an object like this. Within these braces, you have to create another object, right? And this is where you basically start doing all the items like color, yellow, right? With your comma, you can say background color, right? So you put maybe black or something. So you can basically do this for your styling. You see, it has changed, but you have to follow this pattern if you are trying to style within your React component. Okay, take note of this. All right, take note of this. I'll probably leave this example here. Okay, I'll probably leave this example here. So let's just keep this as white and black. So let's keep this example here so that by the time I share this with you, you'll be able to go through this as well. Okay. So in order to add the click event, I'm simply going to say on click, right? And this is where I have to put in the function name. So I can say handle click, or I can just say simple click. Now we really don't have any function just yet. So what I can do is to put in that function here. So let's say const simple click, right? And I basically have to show that return. I think I just made a mistake here. This should be, let's go with this and function. Okay. So I have simple click and I can just put an alert. Let's work with that example. The button was clicked. Okay, so I have the button was clicked right there. If I click on this, it tells us the button was clicked. Sorry about that. It tells us the button was clicked, right? And of course, sometimes you probably want to append some parameters. Maybe I want to say map click the button, for example, but map has to be flexible, right? In terms of allowing someone passing that value. So what I'm going to do is to add a div here, and I'll simply give this a style of yeah. So I want to basically style this, so I can just say display, right, and of course flex. Okay. So yeah. So within this div, I'm going to make sure I have the two buttons within that div. All right. So if you take a look at this, you see I have button 1, and I'm going to add another button. So if I copy this and I paste, this time around, I don't need the styling. Okay. So let's just work with the class name itself. So now you're going to see we have two buttons, right? So I can simply say, let's say justify contents. Okay, center, save that. And of course, remember you want to have a gap, right? And we can simply say 50px. So let's also make sure we have this. All right. So now I have 50px is definitely too much. Okay, so let's just work with 8px. So I have two buttons. The first one, click here for magic, and the second one, we can call this second button, let's say, click for another magic. Okay, so another magic. That's weird, but yeah, click for another magic. So when I click on this button, I want to use a different function. So let's say another simple click, right? So I'm just going to say another simple click. Now this time around, I want this to actually have a way to pass in a name, right? And the name we're passing in um, would be yeah, we're going to pass in a particular name, right? But the problem with this right now is, okay, we don't have that function created just yet. So we can go ahead to call that another simple click. Now we expect to pass in a name, the name of the person actually performing this click. Now the problem is the moment you do this or you save, it runs automatically. You see the way it runs automatically? This is not what you want, obviously. And the reason why it's running automatically is because you actually added that, parenthesis here, which makes it trigger, automatically. So what you want to do in this case is you want to have, an arrow function just like this, and then you call your, function within that arrow function. Now it's an anonymous function basically, so it will not allow this trigger automatically until you trigger it yourself. So it says the button was clicked. What we have to do is to say the button was clicked by, and then we can have that name. So I can just say plus name, right? Your regular JavaScript. So let's go ahead and do this again. So now you see the button was clicked by Nav. So yeah, so the button was clicked by Mark. We have the first one, which is a simple click. So I'm going to save this, refresh this page. So when I click on this, the button was clicked. I clicked on this, the button was clicked by Mark, right? And of course, you can also change the value here. I can say it was clicked by Ella. You can say it was clicked by Ella and Mark, right? So if I save that, I refresh this page, I click on this, it says the button was clicked by Ella and Marker. So now we are, making this even more dynamic. Okay, we're going to stop here, right, tonight. We're going to stop here because of the time. It's already 12 minutes past 9. So let's stop here. And in the next session, we are going to be covering, how to work with states in React, how to work with, some hooks, right? And I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy the ride. React is pretty simple if you pay attention and, follow the instructions, the documentation, study and practice, right? Practice is important. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those questions in the WhatsApp group, or you can drop them on Discord. I'll prefer Discord, right? Drop the questions in the general channel or in the 300 Dev Days channel, and I will respond accordingly. So thank you very much, guys, and I hope you had a wonderful time. Please, do we have any questions before we end the session? Amaka, can you please help me out with the YouTube check? Do we have any question on YouTube? I can see I have about, I have probably more than 10 people watching right here on Zoom. You can drop your questions in the chat if you have any questions, right? There's a Q&A session right there. You can drop your questions there, okay? I'll give you 2 minutes, but if you don't have any question, then I would have to take your questions on Discord, right? We'll be having another session, right? That will be communicated to you guys by tomorrow. We'll have another session so we can also move faster because we've we've missed a couple of classes already since the instructor did not show up. Yeah, so I'll be taking some of the courses, going forward when it comes to React. I was hoping we'd get another instructor, so you guys can also learn from someone else rather than, myself every single time. But it's fine. So when the instructor doesn't show up, I'll probably pick it up and, do my best to explain the details, right? Okay, so I don't think I have any questions coming in. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much, and good night.